course, in the religious world, in the religious system, they always go back to other verses to try to contradict what you just shared with us. And specifically going to like Galatians 5, the first 4 verses, and then verse 18, especially when they say, but if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under Torah. How do we deal with situations like that when they come at us with those particular verses?
Okay, because again, they don't understand what the phrase means. If you don't understand language, you're going to get it all wrong. Okay, if you are led by the Ruach HaKodesh, then you are going to keep Torah. So then you won't be under the penalty that you get for breaking Torah. Paul's trying to kind of connect these dots, but there's connection issues that people have because of language barriers and the translation of the language barriers. And so, because Paul did not write this in English. Okay. Okay, so then let's just kind of, you said verse 18, but what else did you say?
The first 4 verses as well. Of course, they go to, again, with the part of it being the circumcision and that being no longer necessary, that type of thing.
Look, I'm not going to deal with Galatians today, but I'll give you the same thing I always tell everybody. Because Galatians is a book or a letter that you have to understand more than most, I guess, full context. Paul's writing, okay, context is always who's writing, who's the audience, and why. I mean, what is the point? Is there a message? Is there a reason for this letter? And there is. He is mad. I was going to use a different word, but he is not happy. He is PO'd, as they say, with these people. But you have to know why. And it's not because they decided to covenant and keep Torah. Okay? He's mad because they're heading in a direction of either Orthodox Judaism or the Essene asceticism. It's not, it's a wrong mindset that they're gaining. It's not what he taught them, okay, in the context of Messiah. And so he's frustrated with them. He's like, I didn't teach you to act this way, okay? So when you look at Galatians, it has to be understood in its context, and that's where we're going to run into a real big problem. You know, he starts off in chapter 3, he says, oh, you stupid Galatians. You know, he is frustrated, but he's not frustrated after teaching them the law and bringing the law in the context of Messiah to them, that they're keeping the law now. There was a lot of very strong Jewish sects at the time, okay? There was not just, as we think of today, Orthodox and conservative and Reform. There was, like Christianity is today, it was hundreds and hundreds of different flavors of Judaism. And these people who were Gentile to begin with, they were coming into belief and covenant, where a lot of them, which I see happen here also, okay, not in this congregation fully, although 3 or 4 people over the years have done this, they come in, they get excited about Torah, they run right into Judaism, okay? And that could absolutely be a part of what's going on here. You have to understand, he's trying to make a case, but the language he's using, the terms he's using is going to be confusing if you don't get the context right, all right? So when he says not under the law, and by the way, when you see the word Torah anywhere in the New Testament, it never says that word anywhere. It is a choice of translation of the word law, nomia, okay? And so they don't actually put the word Torah anywhere. So now we have to have a choice in translating whether or not the law they're talking about is just law or is it Torah law, okay? So when he says about being under law, which law are we talking about? And so when we talk about things like the book of the law, which is something he talks about in Galatians, I believe, there's a law the Essenes have, or a book the Essenes had called the book of the law, which is all about washings and rituals and all this other stuff that was not a part of the Torah that given on Sinai, not a part of what Paul was teaching them, and they may have started to embrace all that. Okay? So one day we'll go through Galatians. But understand, for Oscar, for your point of view, when you're looking at this stuff, and your friends are throwing that at you, the answer that you need to give is a very simple one. If Paul is saying what they believe he's saying, then Paul is a heretic and needs to be thrown out. So there's a choice. Either he's saying it that way and he's a heretic, or he's not saying it that way and you're just not understanding him. Because what you must know is, even if you don't necessarily know what he is saying, you should know what he can't be saying. Okay? Which your Christian friends don't know. They don't know that he can't be saying this. That breaks everything in Scripture. If he's saying that the Torah is a problem and it's done away with and all. If he's actually saying any of that stuff, he's Deuteronomy 13, needs to be stoned and killed. Okay? False prophet. So easier for you, and I've done this in many discussions with people when they want to argue this stuff, I say, fine. If that's what Paul's saying, because they're making this argument, I said, fine. Then you need to know that makes him a heretic and you need to throw him out. And they look at me like aghast, like, how could you say that? I said, because he can't be saying that and be appropriately in your book. Because he goes then against, if that's true what he's saying, the way you believe it, then he's going against everything else that everybody else says. And so then you have Paulianity, which is your Christianized version of whatever Paul said, which is antithetical to everything else. You just pull him out and just run your religion based on that. Okay? And you're not just pulling him out because he actually said it, but you're looking at translations of translations into English of what people thought he was saying. All right? And so let's just keep that in mind, that don't always feel you have to know how to explain what Paul is saying. It's enough if you can explain what he can't be saying and why he can't be saying it.